could see the Ursa. The same time, they also like to pick up KXY's hero just because already you've seen it banned out. You're going to see even more bans out if you don't pick it here. So that's probably what Infamous are thinking about right now. Whereas if you're the cut, I'm not really certain what you're going to end up putting Mr. Tingle King on because, again, you're playing versus that Timbersaw. You don't necessarily want to pick up the Venom because you're going to be landing with an Enchantress. You're going to need a Blink Stunner. We could see the Mars, but again, we saw just a few hours ago how that Mars versus Timbersaw matchup can really turn on its head if the Timbersaw gets a little bit too much of a lead. So that's probably what's going through their heads right now is really all of Infamous's reserve time has just been taken out the window. Maybe we'll see something interesting.
Yeah, they have 1 second left, and okay. They're going back in for that Bloodseeker. As of right now, there's no one in particular that I think it massively punishes, but as we saw in a lot of those situations the last time Infamous ran this hero, it wasn't necessarily about just straight up locking down a hero, although they did have the Rupture to sort of get up on that Void Spirit, but the Bloodseeker with the damage and the mobility was just able to sort of push in, get onto the back line, take down whoever he wanted, and honestly, that's got value in and of itself. The Rupture at this point is almost kind of a bonus if Parker can play it in this game the way he did previously.
And you do need to be a little bit concerned because Bloodseeker doesn't really win this matchup versus the Luna unless you get maybe like a Blade Mail or something a little bit atypical, because otherwise you just get set up, you create a fortress around this Luna, and you really don't care. And even though the Rupture is pretty obnoxious, if you end up rupturing this Abaddon, you just pop the ulti, you run around, doesn't really do much. If you end, same with the Enchantress, to be honest, while you have a lot of attack speed inherently on that hero because of the Q, you never really get an opportunity to sort of kill her. If she gets those wisps off, you're going to need to be relying on that Timbersaw to supply your damage. But I guess it does sort of feel okay with the Mirana because you rupture them, they want to stand still. Mirana likes when they stand still, easy arrow. So I wonder what they're going to end up picking for Tingle King here, because now you need to match up into the Timbersaw and the Bloodseeker. So there are very few heroes that really fit that niche role. You can't really pick up the Tide Hunter, which is another hero that Tingle King really loves to play. It feels like the Mars might be their best shot, but again, I'm getting flashbacks to Divine Llama. It's something that I'm sure they don't want to happen to them this game.
I feel like you kind of have to just bite the bullet and take that risk, though, because what other option do you have right now that's really going to work out much better? It is very risky, as you said, if the Timber sort of gets to him early, but in terms of another hero that's going to provide the same amount of sort of, I'd say, durability and teamfight strength, you mentioned the Tide, but that feels like it can be pretty easily exploited by Infamous as well. So as much as it may feel sort of uncomfortable for the cut, they may be forced into it, but not just yet. First, they go in for the mid laner, as they will be grabbing up the Ember Spirit. So that is going to be a little bit better at trying to deal with the Bloodseeker. The Rupture isn't going to be quite as sort of harmful to him, so you do have that going for yourself, but the Ember may want to be a little bit careful here. If he gets hit up by the Witch Doctor or the Mirana with those stuns, he has to make sure that that Abba is really near him almost at all times, otherwise he could get locked down and killed off pretty easily.
And I do really like this Ember Spirit pickup, and I was sort of worried about what he would end up playing because KXY really did show his sort of superiority in the mid lane compared to Wage, and nothing against Wage, you're just laning versus one of the best mid players in that South American region. It's really not your fault. So seeing the Tiny and the Viper banned out, I was wondering if there was anything he could pick to get the leg up in that matchup. So now I am a little bit scared for him because Ember Spirit, it's a skill-based hero. It has a lot of skill-based matchups. You're going to be laning up versus the big dog himself. So it's really going to be up to Wage to, I think, polish up his mid lane skills a little bit, get ready to get a few more last hits this time around. And if he can snowball, it's very easy for an Ember Spirit to gank a Bloodseeker's lane. And Witch Doctor, you aren't really going to be able to defend him versus that hero. Same with the Mirana. Even if you TP in, you miss one arrow, all of your defensive capabilities, you don't really have any on the Infamous Gaming side. So in that relation, Parker is going to be a little bit more vulnerable on the Bloodseeker this time around.
Something that the cut could potentially exploit as we move into the final bans. The cut not going to get to play either the Mag or the Mars. Those were two of the heroes that you were sort of mentioning as options, as they were both banned away, but we do see the Dragon Knight coming in for the cut. So the offlane DK, I don't know. He still hasn't quite found his place in the meta right now, but we were sort of looking through options for them, and it did seem like a lot of them have been taken away. You are still going to be playing DK against Timber, though, which can get maybe a little uncomfortable at times, but your Dragon Knight is at least going to provide you with that sort of frontline fighter that, to this point, was, oh god, lacking in their lineup as Infamous will respond with the Huskar pick.
And yeah, and aside from those, they did ban out the Mars, they did ban out the Magnus, in which case maybe they would have been able to ban out the Wage Ember Spirit, but yeah, this DK, I really could only think of maybe DK or Doom after those bans came out, and going for the DK, it doesn't feel the worst. It's actually pretty nice versus the Bloodseeker, where the stun just lasts a sort of annoying amount of time, where you actually do a decent amount of damage to yourself if you do Bloodright, go in, and then immediately get Dragon Tailed. But this is what I was worried about. Wage is getting Huskard. This is going to be troublesome. This is going to be something that he's really going to need to handle well. And I'm not sure if that's going to be an early Enchantress rotation mid, or if it's going to be him just cutting ties to that mid lane, trying to farm that small camp up as much as he can, trying to get his levels, and then just ganking nonstop. Because really, there is no good answer for this Huskar. The bright side is once we get to a point where maybe Scourge has that BKB Manta style, if the Huskar does go in, you do have to be worried about getting turned on. That Eclipse does do a lot of damage. You should be able to at least defend some of your towers with that potential, but it feels like this is a really, really free Huskar game.
Yeah, KXY, already a hero who, or excuse me, a player who tends to have a bit of a skill and mechanical advantage against his opponent. Now he just straight up has, I think, the stronger matchup hero-wise. So never a good combination. You don't want to go up against a player who has sort of multiple advantages like that, and the Ember Spirit can bail himself out. It's certainly going to be possible, but as you said, he's going to have to do something really sort of drastic. It can't just be business as usual here for Wage, otherwise I think he's just going to get massively overpowered. So we'll see what steps they can take to try and effectively dodge this Huskar over the first few minutes as we are loading into this final match, but we are unfortunately not actually getting started just yet. We do have a bit of a pause coming out here. Pause on the Infamous side. No one's DC'd for them as of right now, but we are going to have to wait until they are good to go. So, final match of the night, not quite underway just yet, but it looks like Mariano says they're ready to go.
And it is something that you always need to be scared of. It's something that I've thought about a lot. I did play mid lane for just a little bit there, where what do you do when suddenly you've got players like Quinn, GPK, no one, they start playing these Huskars, they start playing these Vipers. They're already such a high mechanical skill that once you start getting the upper hand in those matchups as well, it man, it's going to take so much for KXY to die this game. There really is not that much to stop him. We're going to need a very fast Blink Tiger coming in from Tingle King. You're just going to need a lot of levels and a lot of farm coming out from Scourge too. And in that previous game, he almost farmed his way to victory. But again, putting all the pressure on Scourge, it feels like while that is definitely a winning strategy, I don't know if it's going to be enough to win in this tournament, because we've just seen really the bar raised every single matchup that we've gotten out of the group stage. I feel like every single time these teams clash, the bar just keeps on raising up until that playoff level sort of starts off.
Yeah, especially as we're sort of going further and further along, and more of those standings are beginning to take shape. Teams are, for the most part, sort of learning from and shedding away some of those mistakes that they had previously made, really keying in.
Cool.
Ooh, there's going to be the DC. It's actually on the other side this time, though, as Giant has dropped out, but we will have to wait for that one. So another pause coming in here, but sort of to the point that we were sort of talking about, the longer we go, the deeper we get, the closer we approach to those playoffs, the more these teams are really going to sort of lock in. I know for a lot of people, these teams are maybe not written off entirely, but maybe not quite as well known based on the fact that they didn't quite make it to the major or things of that nature. But these are some of the better teams in their region, and they know exactly what is at stake here in this event, not just in terms of the sort of prize pool for this event, but also the fact that those TI qualifiers are just sort of looming on the horizon. So this is series of massive opportunities to really prove to yourself that you are going to be capable of sort of making waves in those regional qualifiers. So teams have been stepping up here so far, and I expect we're going to see Some pretty solid stuff here in this one, as Infamous just going to try and press the advantage with this Huskar. As we take a look at KXY already, trying to go up against Wage. First point up in the inner fire here, actually, for the Huskar. So not going to be spamming out those spears just yet, but the inner fire is going to provide some damage, and the sort of disarm and pushback could force Wage to miss maybe a last hit or two as well.
And it's just so that way you don't have to worry about getting any of those ranged creeps denied underneath you, as Wage does have that damage advantage over the Huskar. That's really its biggest drawback, but now the axes or the spears are going to start weighing in onto Wage, and we'll have to see what he ends up going for after the bottle, whether it's the Orb of Corrosion or just a very fast phase boots, because this lane, it's not supposed to be good for the Ember.
Yeah, he is expected to struggle here. So we'll see exactly what Wage can put together. KXY just sort of playing this one nice and simple so far. Meanwhile, oh, Giant dropping out again. Uh-oh.
And we
Well,
saw this before in their last series with him as well. The sort of constant DCs. I hope he's able to make it back in full force, because they definitely need him to come out in this bottom lane. And we already see the sentries blocked up, so he does have to make that sort of long trip for that medium camp. And unlucky for him, it is just going to be an alpha wolf in that camp, so you're not going to see too much aggression coming out with that those early enchant creeps. So he might just be stuck here for a while, just trading with impetus.
which I mean, it's still going to be a decent bit of damage that he can throw out there, but without the creep, it's just going to be trading damage. It's never really going to result in them, as of right now, having too much of a kill opportunity, although Tingle has gone for the stun up at level 1, so maybe if someone like A gets a little bit too far forward in this lane, they could stun him up, hit him with a slow from the enchant, and maybe that's enough for them to pursue it, but that is going to be reliant upon someone from Infamous sort of stepping pretty far out of position, as Giant has reconnected. So he is back into the server. Not sure if he's actually ready to go just yet, but it looks like they are. So a couple of short pauses there as Giant's DC'd a couple of times, but he's back in. And we are ready to go, and we'll see just what he can do here with the Impetus. He's going to throw it in onto the Bloodseeker for now, just trying to get a little bit of extra damage in, but I don't think that's going to be too much to matter right now. The Bloodseeker is just going to be able to pop those occasional tangos, and he really should be just fine in this lane as he continues to farm.
And you do have to be careful, though, because once you get level 2, and actually they're just going to go immediately. Yeah, they're fast. Not going to hit up with that blood right, but still, it's the immediate pressure. That was just them pulling the trigger there on the half HP DK. If that blood right did land, he would definitely be in more dire straits.
Meanwhile, up top, Pingu low on mana and low on health, as Michael's going to be able to bring him down. Infamous will draw first blood and back down bot. Tingle, he's on the run. Can actually catch up to him, though. The Bloodseeker's continuing to get those hits in, maybe one or two more to finish the job, and they are going to be able to get it. So you mentioned that they sort of pull the trigger quickly there. That's a combo they can put together really at the drop of a hat. The stun into the Maledict with the blood right underneath it. So if you're the cut in this lane, you need to be ready for that combo at really all times. And they were able to dodge it out the first time, but the second go around, Tingle King does get taken down as the first 2 kills of the game belong to Infamous.
Yeah, and it's not just that. If they start struggling in the side lanes, I feel like that's just going to make this mid lane look even worse. And you're going to see Wage have to farm the small camp. He's going to get more points up in that Flame Guard. There really isn't many other things he can do. You already see KXY pulling ahead in those denies, in those last hits, just because there really is nothing that Wage can do. And that's why I was a little bit worried seeing that they just picked up his hero one phase, I think, sooner than they should have. And again, we've lost our Giant.
This is a problem. And Giant now, this is actually even worse. Before he was just DCing in lane. Now he's disconnected with the Bloodseeker directly in front of him. So this is a bit of a more high-stakes situation for him. And even once Giant gets back in, I'm not sure he survives this. He could go for the enchant and then try to run, but Wage is not really going to be able to help him. The Flame Guard's already running out of time, so he just throw in a casual sleight of fist, but without the Searing Chains to follow it up, the Bloodseeker's not really going to be deterred. So Giant may very well end up going down here, but what does he really have? He's got a Tango, he's got a Salve, but unless he can create enough separation, I don't think he's going to actually pop that Salve for any extended amount of time.
And there's not really much for him to give either. because Inverse, then this is just sort of the team play coming out from Infamous already, as Parker makes the rotation for the bounty rune. Why? Because Wage is running out of options. They know of the advantages and the disadvantages that their lineups are giving to each other, and without this bounty rune, you're going to have to walk back to lane because now suddenly KXY is pushing in the tower. He's got already a level advantage up on Wage. After a few of these small cramp creeps, it will sort of level out, and we'll see if he gets the chain or another point up in that sleight of fist. But really, Infamous, even though it's 3 minutes into the game, they're already making forcing moves and just shows sort of the experience of their lineup.
Yeah, they are, as of right now, just sort of pushing the cut into whatever position that they want them to be in. And you don't normally sort of make that kind of statement 3 minutes into a game, but this is the power. When you just so clearly sort of outdraft your opponents, it also puts you in a position where you now feel comfortable trying to out-execute them on top of it. And if the cut really can't sort of not turn it around, but can't maybe sort of stabilize and try to stave off some of this early aggression, then life is just going to get unbelievably difficult for them. And at this point, this is starting to get a little bit more concerning. This DC from Giant has kind of lasted a bit longer than the previous two. So, as you mentioned earlier on, we saw a similar issue for Giant's internet connection in one of the cuts sort of previous matches. So, that was, I believe, what, a day or two ago? But if Giant's still unable to sort of maintain a stable connection here, this is going to get a little bit rough for them. But until we hear something from the admin, we don't really have to worry too much about actual pause time. So in the meantime, just Godspeed to Giant. Hope he can get back in here as quickly as possible, and we can get this one back underway. Because right now, well, it's looking like Infamous are really just straight up controlling the game. All three of their cores at the top here in terms of the last hit count. They've got 2 kills on the board, so they've got kills, they've got control of most of these lanes, and they've got the lineup that looks stronger than what their opponents will put together. So it looks a little grim already, but the cut will have plenty of time to try and sort of get this one back in, assuming Giant actually does return in time.
Well, the only reason I remember Giant having those issues before is that that's the only time I think I've ever seen an admin give up you only have this much time remaining, you have 15 minutes of time, whatever allotted to you, be a little bit careful here. And Giant has reloaded into the server, so hopefully maybe a quick PC restart, maybe a router reset. All of his issues should hopefully be done here as the game will just get underway, and we'll see if he does fall to Parker here.
There's going to be that enchant coming through. Parker, Bloodright thrown down. I don't think Giant makes it out. It's only level 1 though, but that's actually still enough damage. Okay. Giant could not get himself away. Parker's able to find the kill, his second of the match, and well, welcome back, Giant. Now you're dead. So that's always fun. Meanwhile, down bot, Tingle trying to get aggressive onto A. He's not really going to be able to find that kill. The Dragon Tail was nice at the start, but at this point, you're an offlane DK, you're level 3. He doesn't have any actual significant damage beyond that stun.
Yeah, and really, he does need to be a little bit careful on the Bloodseeker because now he was able to get that sentry down. He has a Hellbear Smasher. Unfortunately, he did miss the clap just there, but Parker is just going to take these creeps under tower. There isn't much that Giant can do except try to throw a little bit harassed. This creep is very tanky, but again, you don't really want to lose it either. You could have it for another 35 seconds. It is one of the better creeps you could have, so
they're starting to get a little aggressive here. Yeah, Tingle's going to just push in underneath, and A
nice juke from A, but yeah.
He does still get spotted. The Bloodright comes out, but again, level 1 Bloodright. It was enough to kill Giant before, but it's not enough to dissuade them this time around as A goes down, but Michael was able to find a kill onto Pingu elsewhere on the map. He rotates mid as well to try and get in onto Wade, but they're not quite able to spring the trap there. But that is still going to turn that into a bit of a 1-for-1 on the supports across the map.
Yeah, and he's just trying to do his best. Pingu, being a strength hero or a strength 5 versus Mariano, if you ever get out of position, if the arrow connects on you as opposed to Scourge or a ranged creep, things can really get dicey for the Abaddon, especially not having up that Curse of Avernus. We're not seeing that Abaddon where you get that Oov early, try to get those stacks and play up in his face, where it feels like Pingu playing versus the Mirana is trying to just give Scourge the easiest 50-50 of his life, but it does come at the cost of his own life.
And now Michael took a trip back to the base, healing up, grabbing some items. He will return now, so the threat of that arrow is in once again as Mariano. Okay, that's That's a bit of a deep one there, getting underneath the tower. Lucent Beam will be there to stun him up, but not much else. He really doesn't have to be too afraid as A. Going to get taken down the bottom lane. Tingle King, though, should be falling in exchange. Parker able to make that trade happen. Does he go in onto Giant? No. He's going to back off after that point. He got the kill he wanted, really, so no need to get too greedy on that one. Although Giant got to get himself out of that blood right. Will be able to walk away, but Parker, this is getting a little bit risky. That impetus is going to drop him low. Does he actually win this? No. I said don't want to get greedy. Apparently Parker disagrees. He goes in for it and he will be punished. Giant, honestly, with that one impetus hit, kind of turned it around. That was a little bit more damage, I think, than the Bloodseeker was ready for. As, oh boy, Wage is taken down. Michael
He just hit him with an arrow. He just completely skill shot him. It was just the slight vision advantage that Mirana has. And Wage, all of those creeps are neutrals. None of those are last hits he's gotten in lane. And Pingu might be a little bit suspicious now because of that arrow. He's pinging out that maybe there's vision on that large camp. But this is your mid tier 1 tower already gone here.
Okay. Tower already taken, so this was already a hard enough sort of situation for Wage. Now he doesn't even have that middle lane to return to, even if he wanted to, which I'm not entirely sure he really wants to spend much time down in that lane anymore anyway. But he gets killed off, he loses his tower, his last hit count is still not quite where you would sort of like it to be in comparison to that Huskar, so what does he really do to try and catch up here? He was looking to farm up in the jungle before, but that's how he ended up running into the Mirana. So you don't have too many options that are really going to keep you safe, as down bot, there's a bit of a trio coming in here as the Abba has made his way over, but they absolutely see him. This Obs Ward spots Pingu out, so he's not really as sneaky as he wants to be, but A is going to get jumped in on. Tingle, though, does get hit up by the Rupture into the Maledict. Michael now TP's forward as well, so Tingle, I do not know if he survives this one. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is where things are going to get rough. Mariano TPing in. The Huskar will arrive as well. TP's out from the cut are actually going to get them both away. So Tingle is the only one who dies there, but poor for support. A taken down in exchange for that Dragon Knight.
It does sort of even out when you do count out that both of your supports were able to TP away. Unfortunately, you do get that tower denied out from underneath you. But again, space for Scourge. That is the name of the game. That is the name of Cut's game pretty much this entire tournament.
Oh, Tingle, right? I don't know about this.
Oh, that's gonna get... Oh, boy.
I don't think he realized it at the time, but that is a TP into 4 heroes. Parker throws down the Blood Right. Mariano and KXY were immediately ready to dish out that damage. So Tingle, he's back on his feet. He TP's down. He's immediately knocked over again. So Tingle King taken out, and the tower is presumably going to fall here. There's a new creep wave coming in, so yeah, they're just going to be able to take this. And now map control starting to become an issue really early on, but Scourge is going to try to get a kill. Nice. Scourge will get the credit for that one. His first kill of the game. So, as you were saying, sort of as long as Scourge can continue to farm, as long as they can make space, there will always be hope for them. So, the Luna finds the kill, should be able to sort of fall back here into the jungle to continue farming up off the back of that pick.
Pingu going down. And there's just nothing you can do. Michael has been on it with these setups coming in, and that was just a leap in Starstorm. I don't think it looks like the Rupture was actually committed there. In seeing both supports TP back, they know they don't have the TPs up just yet, and now they're going to very simply TP up to this top tower, put pressure on again there, and it feels like Infamous again. It's just very by the books.
Yeah, this is really the perfect way that you want to play this. You get aggressive early, you find those first couple of kills, you get your opponents all on the back foot, and then it's just going to be tower pushes until they're through all of these tier 1s, and at that point the Cut are going to have to make some serious decisions about who farms where, and basically who gets, or whose farm sort of gets sacrificed in this situation, because Scourge has to farm, but you can no longer really safely do so in the lane, so he's going to be rotating through the jungle, but at this point they don't have enough space available for the other cores to sort of keep pace, so someone's going to have to lag behind right now. Not entirely sure who it will be, but we'll see what the Cut decide later on. For now, though, Mariano farming up in the bottom lane, his teammates pushing out for that tier 1 tower top, so they should be able to claim this. There is a glyph available for the Cut. It will be refreshed if this tier 1 goes down, so they may as well commit it, but at the same time, the Cut themselves are looking for a tower, pushing onto the tier 1 tower mid.
And I can't imagine Infamous want to give this up. And honestly, with KXY showing up, they do have to respect him just a little bit. No points in the Eclipse yet for Scourge either, so they can't do anything to Mariano or KXY. And KXY,
Arrow.
oh, the arrow on
In onto
Wage.
Wage. He's
His
gone.
remnant's right there too.
It
Oh
doesn't matter. The
no.
Maledict would have killed him off anyway, but it's KXY who gets the kill. That sucks for the cut. They lose the tower top, they don't get the tier 1 mid, and then they end up losing their mid laner in the ensuing fight as Michael, we've been sort of singing his praises all game long, and once again, he's in there, gets behind enemy lines, throws the arrow in from the north, and the cut weren't really even looking in that direction. They were so focused on the TP's mid that they don't see that sort of secondary move coming until it's too late.
And now right into the pit. KXY, he finishes up that Sanj. Mariano has 3 points up in reactive. He's just going to sit here, keep the chakram in. Roche has 18 stacks of burning spears. He's taking so much damage, doesn't even have the life break. And this is just going to be an Aegis 11 minutes into the game on your Huskar. And they have really no idea what's going on. They were able to claim that tower mid, but you look at the vision and oh my goodness, there is no way the cut go into their jungle right now. It is just all Infamous territory.
Yeah, they have, I mean, pretty much every single entrance to that north side jungle sort of covered up. So if the cut move in, Infamous will know about it. But over in the middle lane, Mariano, he was dropped a little bit low there, but not actually going to be able to commit onto him fully. But that's 3 or 4 heroes in the area, so you would think this might be their moment to try and pursue that kill. Mariano, though, doesn't really seem all that afraid of the rotation, although part of that may be because he doesn't actually know that they're all there. But either way, the cut actually will not go in on it. They're just going to take the time to try and farm.
They're
So
gonna hit the tier 3 tower and force people back.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just so simple.
It's 12 minutes. It's 12 minutes in, and that's a tier 3 tower under attack. This is a disaster. And if you're the cut, what exactly do you do here, KXY is starting to drop low. Maybe you could catch him out here, but he's toggling up that armlet so well. He's not going to be taken down by the tower shots, and Tingle, he's got no blink, so he can't really do that. He pops the Elder Dragon for him, but doesn't really do him much good.
And you really can't expect a blink on Tingle at this point. It feels like if your Ember Spirit doesn't even have his Vessel, you can't assume that he's going to have a blink on this DK, and you really would have rather stayed bottom, maybe played up with Scourge just a little bit, try to get that tower, as now Infamous just rotate towards mid, and... Ooh, do they have a ward? Oh, okay. Wage has the Invis rune, but... Ooh, they're going to break on an Invis hero, so they are going to whiff with the smoke, but... Still, aside from Scourge, nobody else on the cut can leave their base, and ooh, Scourge is just barely going to get out.
TPs himself back to the tower just in time as those heroes for Infamous were rapidly closing in. So, yeah, it's a good play from Scourge. Gets himself out of trouble. He's going to continue to farm, and as we said before, as long as he's still farming, there's at least some degree of hope for the cut. This Luna, not 100% sure if she's going to be able to sort of pull the entirety of the team back, but you can at least make an attempt at it if he continues to build himself up. So we'll see how safe Scourge can sort of keep himself here, as we might see a fight breaking out mid. That cask is going to bounce through. But Parker, okay, Parker, he has no HP. He's trying to get himself away. Wage, though, going to be able to lock him down, but now the Death Ward is channeling out. Tingle is dropping low. They'll take him down first. The Luna should be dying as well. And I'm not sure if they can really do this any longer. Giant is going to be taken down. A will basically sacrifice himself, but Wage, he should TP out. Yeah, the disarm is there, the pushback as well, but it doesn't actually cancel anything, as the inner fire won't quite get it done. But if you're the cut, I don't know. You got Parker, that's big. You pick up A as well, but you do lose 3 heroes, and now Infamous are going to keep on pushing forward as they go for the tier 2.
It's just the disadvantageous trade. You don't even pop the Aegis on the Huskar, where maybe that would quell the aggression coming out from Infamous a little bit. You dump so many spells on the Parker. You do have that max level Lucent Beam, so the Eclipse does do a lot of damage, but it feels like you're dumping all that damage almost on the wrong hero. But once Parker gets that really just the Rupture out, you have to make that hard decision.
God.
Oh, KXY baited.
Bit too far there, maybe, with the life break, but now how does he get out? He doesn't have a BKB. He's just going to have to try and actually walk his way out of this fight. Inner fire, buying a little bit of time, but it's not going to be enough. KXY should go down. Mariano's going to try to help out with the chakram, but it won't matter. It won't matter. It won't matter. Okay, it won't matter. There we go. See, I knew it all along. As Scourge will be able to get the kill. KXY just straight up baited into that play.
Yeah, and Infamous, they are very polite. They're not going to tip their teammate. I would have tipped my teammate there. That's a little bit funny, baited in by the Ember Spirit Remnant. And a little bit of space now granted to them, as Scourge will hopefully be able to finish up that Manta style before we're going to see another pretty heavy stacked push. And without the Aegis, the Huskar does need to play slightly differently. We will see him queue up that BKB now, but once he gets that BKB, uh, you're sort of SOL on the cut side. You really need a little bit more. You need to find some timing, whether or not that's the Scotty coming out from Scourge or just the BKB, so that way you can sit there and man up on him, because that disarm is really quite obnoxious and you're not going to be able to get the majority of your damage out. So it really feels like KXY is still, even though it's a funny death, it doesn't feel like much is really going to change for the Infamous side. That's going to need to happen at least once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, it's a slight setback, but that's not the sort of pivot point for the cut. They've still got a lot of work to do to try and get themselves back into it, but yeah, as you said, it was funny, that's for sure, but KXY, he's looking to make up for it here as he pushes his way into the east side jungle. Not going to run into any heroes, but he is going to just take away these Ancients, so they continue to sort of steal farming opportunities from the Cut's heroes, and I mean, this Luna is still building up. Scourge remains in that sort of top 3, but I mentioned it before, someone on the cut other than the Luna is going to have their farming priority effectively sacrificed, and we do see both Wage and Tingle King really starting to fall behind the other cores.
And we do see the Spirit Vessel finally finished up by that Ember Spirit. Hopefully we'll see the Blink coming out from Tingle King pretty soon here. But at the same time, Infamous, very low risk, just taking these tier 2 towers. The outer towers, it's pretty much impossible for the Cut to defend. If they stick their necks out a little bit too far, they're just a little bit too immobile on that DK and the Luna, so those cores would assuredly die if they did try to get set up. And while you are able to finish that Manta style top on Scourge, it feels like the 5-man of Infamous are just kind of able to walk around at this point.
Wage hit up by the Yules into the arrow, into the blood right. They've got him.
Yeah.
Oh, Wage just walks into that one, unfortunately. Too far forward in the middle lane. Didn't realize that the heroes were sort of collapsing around him. And once that combo starts, there's no getting out of it. The arrow is going to connect unless Michael massively messes that up. So they've got the stun combo, and Wage just, I guess, sort of lulled into a false sense of security, thinking he was just going to be able to sort of remnant his way out.
And now you see the Infamous heroes. They're going again with another smoke. They have Greaves on the Timbersaw now, working on that SNY by Parker. And even if they don't find anything here, you're sort of forcing the enemy team back into their base. And while you're able to capture that tower top, Scourge is getting a little bit more gold up until he gets this BKB. There's no way he's going to TP back for a fight unless they really are diving hard. Even though he is the most important hero on his team, he really supplies the most damage out of anyone. Wage really is just there to stop them from healing with that 45% reduction. That's really it. Aside from that, it just feels like this Ember Spirit isn't really able to have an impact yet. There hasn't really been any plays for him on the Mirana or the Witch Doctor. He has to be terrified of the Mirana because of that Yules catching him out before, and it could very well just happen again.
Here comes Michael.
They see
Moonlight
Scourge.
Shadow gets him in. They're going to go on to Pingu first, though, so that would presumably be the easier kill, but they have to get through the borrowed time. But Pingu looking to TP out. The Paralyzing Cast, though, will cancel that, and yeah, the Sap is dead. Pingu will be taken down, but his death does at least get Scourge away, or maybe it doesn't. Mariano is actually going to spot him out. No BKB yet for the Luna, and there's TPs in onto the outpost. He's going to make his way forward. KXY actually gets picked off there in the bottom lane, but Scourge is still in trouble. The Rupture is going to be deployed. He'll look for the TP, but that arrow is there to cancel it, and Scourge will be taken down. So the kill onto KXY, it is going to be insanely valuable for the Cut. The problem is, really the primary beneficiary of it would have been the Luna, and she's busy getting picked off elsewhere on the map.
And just a really nice ward coming in again from Infamous, spotting out that Luna's rotation, seeing her take the long walk. Even though he did TP away before, it just wasn't good enough. And now Parker is really the one that's going to be picking up a little bit of speed. And of course, Huskar dives bottom. He had a nifty play where he was able to purge off that Spirit Vessel. There are going to be some more Spirit Vessel charges given to Wage, but are you going to really try on Mariano here? He doesn't have Greaves.
This is a rough kill for them either way, though, even with the Spirit Vessel in place. And now okay, he's just going to put a stop to that. Throws out the cask, Tingle King can't chase, and Mariano walks away. So, that, I don't know, that felt optimistic. Maybe they could have gotten it, but Mariano's probably the hardest kill for them to get on the map, even with those Greaves unavailable to him.
And with Roche respawning in a minute 30 seconds, unfortunately did get the longest timer. It could have been a sub 20-minute second Roche, but instead they will get it respawning around that 21-minute mark. And yeah, we see a smoke up from the cut. They want to make a play, I think, with this Tingle King Blink. They haven't really been able to get anything going in that respect. And with the Spirit Vessel, they are able to do a little bit more damage, but they don't want to start a Mariano.
They going on to A, though. Much easier target. They get the Searing Chains in onto the Mirana as well, so Michael's just going to have to leap, but he immediately gets hit by the Lucent Beam. Scourge is going to be able to pick up the double kill, and now Wage wants in even further, but Mariano's really not a great target for him. He's just going to be able to walk away. KXY, though, well, might want to be careful here. He's going to go for it. BKB activated. He's looking for the damage onto the Luna. Can Scourge get away? No, he can't, but... Or excuse me, yeah, he's turning around, rather. Not looking for the retreat, but rather the fight as he pops the Eclipse. Parker's actually the one who was forced to fall back. He does get away, but that means KXY was stuck in the middle of that. So Scourge will fall, but they trade him out for more, and Mariano is actually going to get set up here as well. Tingle blinks in, goes for the Dragon Tail, but now with ATPing onto the tower, DK doesn't really want to be here any longer. He's going to try to fall back. Mariano is thinking about chasing after him. Michael is going to rotate into position as well. He gets down the Eul Scepter. The arrow is going to come out, but it's a pretty short range one, so the stun doesn't last very long. But now A, in with that Death Ward. Tingle King will be dropped. There we go, eventually, as Michael gets the kill. And now,
Giant too.
Yeah, they're in onto even more. Giant's going to get run down. The Bloodseeker will just keep this one going. Starstorm actually going to come out as well. A Giant not dead just yet. He's not going to be able to get out of the Blood right, though, but he looks for the TP, and there's no way for the Bloodseeker to cancel, but oh my god, that... I think that was back-to-back procs.
Yeah, just proc city, and they just do so much damage, and while you are still trading out KXY, now the Roshan has respawned. There's no way the cut can really respond to this. Scourge, those two deaths really set him back, getting traded out like that. They're going to wait, just walk over there now with the Huskar. This is going to be Cheese, this is going to be the Shard, this is going to be the Aegis again on the Huskar, and then he can just go wild. He doesn't need to worry about losing that life, or at least not losing it without taking something from the cut in return. And now you need to look for those BKBs. You need that timing. You need a little bit more damage, and really only Scourge is sort of nearing in on it. You're not going to see that BKB coming out from Tingle King, and that's where it feels like Infamous are just going to sort of run them down. I don't really know how Cut take the fight once Parker gets his BKB either. Once the Bloodseeker is fearless, there really is nothing that can stop him this game.
Yeah, this is just going to be too much for them to handle. He's got a Cheese, he's got the Aghanim Shard upgrade for the Blood Rage, and he'll have a BKB. So he's just going to be going at full speed, right into the Cut's lineup, into anyone who sort of steps in his path, and the Cut really aren't going to be able to defend themselves against that. Now, Scourge, you do not want to be here. Michael's going to try to set him up as that TP, yeah, that's not working. Eul Scepter is there to cancel it out, and Scourge... he's just straight up dead. There's nothing he can do here. He's going to try to get a kill onto Michael in exchange, but he's not even going to get that.
Yeah, and again, it's Scourge trying to find the farm in basically the riskiest part of the map. He and Tingle King would love to switch spots, especially because Tingle King has that Blink Dagger. He might be able to survive a few more situations, but it's just so simple. Even if the Mantis Dog tries and takes one or two more stuns, and actually Tingle King needs to get healed up. He needs to get saved from Pingu, but uh-oh.
They're just directly in onto it. There's the Euls into the arrow. Once again, Michael, I mean, every single time he is here for this play, that combo has been so effective in terms of just disrupting the Cut. And Tingle King's dead for 35. There's no buyback. KXY, well, for a moment it looked like he was going for the tower. Instead, they're going to try to wrap around mid. They want in onto Wage. They're not going to be able to catch him, though. The nice Remnant play will get him out of the fight, but that just means that the Huskar is free to push in onto that tier 3 tower alongside the rest of the team, as they will look to push their way through it. The Glyph is going to slow them down, but it can only last for so long.
And really, all you can do is sit in your base. You're 150 off of your BKB on the Luna. It feels like you're not able to make a break for the side lanes. You're not going to be able to finish it in time. And while you're probably going to finish it off this creep wave, no, he's still 30 gold short, so he's just going to have to sit here and wait. There isn't anything they can do, and actually,
Wage.
they're making a play. Ooh, Wage
he's hit by the Euls. He was able to get away, but Tingle was hit by the Rupture, so he's not going to be moving. KXY, meanwhile, just standing his ground here. He's going to man up. He is taking so much damage, but the armlet toggling, he's perfectly fine. Tingle was taken down there off the back of that TP after just respawning, and he still doesn't have buyback. He waits it out, respawns, TP's in, dies again, and is once again going to have to sit on the sidelines and watch as Infamous will push their way in onto a second lane of Rax. The entire top lane should be taken here, and I don't really think the Cut can afford to do anything about it.
And you finally have that BKB on the Luna, but that's it. Really, unless you have this DK stun, you don't have the control. They're chopping the cheese on the ground. They're just playing with him,
Oh,
and
they get it
you...
out.
Nice.
Okay. Turning around for the Eclipse. How much damage will this do, though? It's too spread out. KXY is just going to push in once again, dishing out all that damage with the Burning Spears. It's not enough to actually finish anybody, but reinforcements for the cut are already sort of getting whittled away at, but they're all still alive. They're going to hold their ground, but Infamous are still in the base, and they're still looking for another lane of racks. They want the Megas here, and at this point, the cut, I don't really think they can afford to sort of sit back and watch this time at Parker. He did it again.
It's
First time
really
around was already uncomfortable, but... Okay, KXY. He just jumped in there. He is dropping low, but he's still not dead. They haven't even burned through the Aegis, and Scourge, somebody needs to help him. There's no one there. Pinku can't actually save his teammate. The Aphotic Shield and the Miscoil were both available. They don't use either one of them onto the Luna, and Scourge is just straight up dead. He doesn't have buyback, but Pinku has his. I just don't know really how effective it's going to be with all of his teammates dying around him, as Tingle King will be taken down, and that's going to be the GG.
Yeah, GG called. After he had to use that BKB, there's really nothing that Scourge can do. He can't walk up to the wave. They've just run out of time. And that's the first time in a while that I've seen this last pick sort of have as much of an effect on the game as it did this time around, because it really just sort of spelled defeat for the cut. And I don't know if it's just a little bit of a lapse in judgment or not thinking about the matchup or Wade just having too limited of a hero pool, but it really felt like for the first time in a while, you got last pick Huskard and it just meant you lose. There's nothing the cut really could do about it.
Yeah, just... I don't know. I mean, we've seen some cheese picks. The Broodmother sort of comes to mind immediately, but that Brood tends to get picked up a little bit earlier, whereas, as you said there, this was just a straight-up, pure, good old-fashioned 5th pick slam. KXY comes in on the Huskar, and the cut well and truly were not capable of dealing with it. So, I don't know. You don't really see that all too often anymore, but every once in a while it sort of comes back around. The cut just... I'm not really sure what else they could have done differently. They just get sort of baited into that scenario. So, that's what happens. Every once in a while, the last pick play comes out and you just do not have the means of dealing with it, as the cut will suffer a defeat here. 0-2 for them in this series, as Infamous are going to be able to notch 3 straight victories to close out day 5 of the group stage. So they are really sort of making a push up the standings here as we are moving into that second half. So very nicely done on their part. We saw really some of the best play from them that we've seen across the entirety of this event. So congratulations to Infamous for that 2-0 sweep. And with that, we are done for the day. This one, I will say it did go a little bit longer. Games were kind of longer on average, starting way back at the start of the day with that sort of 50-minute Techies match out from Simply 2 base. But we have gotten through it, and we are going to be shutting down here in just a little bit. In fact, I think we're close to butting up against the Southeast Asian coverage as well. So we are going to be hopping on out of here real quick. Like before we go, though, quick word again from LootBet, sponsor of this event. New users can get a 100% bonus on their first deposit up to 150 euros. Use code PRO on loot.bet. That's PRO. And meanwhile, existing users can also find more promotions when they visit loot.bet. So thank you to LootBet. We may be getting close to the Southeast Asian start time, but we still have some time to thank our sponsors. So feel free to use that promo code if you are a new user. As always, please do remember to bet responsibly. And that is it. We are going to be hopping on out of this one. ET and I will be back tomorrow afternoon, though, for day 6 of this group stage. So we are really getting down to the sort of last couple of opportunities for some of these squads to make a surge in the standings. So 4 more best of 2s on the schedule for tomorrow. For tonight, though, we are going to be hopping out of here. So thank you all for hanging out with us. Thanks for spending some of your Saturday with ET and I, and we will see you tomorrow.